What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 95 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creator Series. Today I welcomed an Oklahoma City artist. His name is War Mothershed. I've actually been working steadily behind the scenes with War on a lot of music for the last year. I actually just went in his Instagram live one day and told him I had music for him, and I've been sending him beats ever since. We have a lot of cool stuff coming soon, but today we talked about his song Only Child that kind of is his comeback record. We also talked about a lot of life stuff, just what he went through, going through an accident, a workplace accident that kind of changed his perspective on life and put him in a good space creatively. And he actually launched his own podcast called the Growth is Hard podcast, where he talks about a lot of life issues with different people that he knows and works with. And I encourage everyone after this episode to go check out that podcast, because it's really something inspiring. And I think War is just a really special person. Like, all the music that I've worked on with him, whenever it comes out, I think everyone's going to really enjoy it, because it's very, close to the heart, things that he's been through personally that anyone can relate to on a certain level. And I really just appreciate how open and honest he is for someone that's as young as he is, to have gone through what he did and really just flip it to his advantage and really just see the positive in what he's doing. So proud to say I'm collaborating with him, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do. But for now, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Let's get right into it. All right, welcome everyone to episode number 95 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creator Series. Today I have an Oklahoma City artist. I've been working with this guy now for almost a year on a lot of music, a lot of special songs that have yet to come out. I'm excited for all of it, and I'm excited to see what this guy's been doing recently. War Mothershed is here. How are you, man?
Oh, man, I'm blessed to be here, man. It's an honor. Since 95 episodes, like, you're almost at the 100 episode mark. You got to do something special.
Dude, we're starting the countdown. I'm already trying to plan that for real, but I'm happy to have you here today on episode 95 and everything. And basically, to start out, we kind of have the guests give a bit of background. How did you get into music? How long have you been doing it? Kind of just the basic information for those that might not know you and what you do.
Well, for starters, my name is War Mothershed. I'm out of Oklahoma City. I'm 23 years old as we were recording. And literally, I got my start in music really at an early age. Everybody has their own, favorite artists growing up. Mine personally was like Eminem, Kanye, Lil Wayne. And I literally can remember, those days when you weren't supposed to be doing certain things, and let's say, for instance, you get sent to your room. I'm in my room playing Kanye West, Can't Tell Me Nothing, on my whole little, mad at the world, I can't believe she told me I can't ride my bike with my friends, man, and literally from there, I've always wanted to be a rapper, and I didn't know how to be, but it wasn't until, third or fourth grade when I was just like, well, maybe I could just perform it, do covers. I did, talent shows, things like that. But it wasn't until junior high when I really started to try and kind of, write, just express myself, whether it was a journal or just trying to put my thoughts to paper. And it took time. It took a lot of practice, and honestly, it has been a long journey, but literally from, I want to say, my junior to senior years when I actually started to get some traction. I did a couple rap competitions. I was featured on the cover of some magazines. I got to travel a bit. A couple years later, I got to do a tour in Seattle for a week. So, it's been a crazy ride, and I'm just blessed to be here.
Mm-hmm. It's great to see, man. That Kanye thing sounds like me. I'm like, God, is that my childhood? 10 years old, listening to all that stuff. So that's kind of crazy, parallels right there. But, you have literally been just putting in the work. And I don't know if you remember, how just me and you kind of got reconnected. So you were in IG Live, right? And it was probably, March of last year. And you were recording some song. I don't even remember what song it was. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't talked to him in a while. I'm just going to say something. I was like, sick, man, fire. I might have some tracks for you. And I swear to God, you said, I'm bodying everything you send me, so just send me anything. So
literally.
I was like, what does that even mean? I'm just going to start a folder and just see where it goes. And literally, it's been almost a year now. You just sending me back just the craziest songs ever. So, touch on that, the whole last year in general of you working on these songs and what you're putting together. And then obviously in your podcast, you touched about last, I think January, you said you had like an accident and everything. So share about kind of what it's just been like having that whole thing come to fruition now, and like where are you today? Like how do you feel about doing all of this crazy stuff in the last like year and a half?
Man, well, for starters, I like to at least give little tidbits of information that I learned along my journey so I can help any other aspiring artists to, get along their path a lot faster than I did, maybe accelerate that growth. So if I could give out a $1 million piece of advice right now, if you're getting YouTube beats, if you're doing leases, if you're doing anything like that, make sure that you own the rights to the music. Don't do what I did. Just go on YouTube, rip a beat off, and make a song to it, because you can't do nothing with it. So bringing that back to how me and Anthony have been, I have been sitting on songs for what feels like forever now, like lifetimes for me, because I'm like, I have all this great material, but I can't post it because that's not mine. But literally, I've just been working on developing my delivery, my song structure, and I guess you could say appearance on the songs, whether it's a softer approach, more aggressive, and literally finding the producers that will support and, give me the opportunity to come record and make music on actual, professional basis. So I'm like, okay, let's make this happen. And when he reached out and was like, hey, man, I think I got some beats for you, I'm at this point where I'm like, dude, I got a catalog that you can flip through your iPhone and just scroll. Like, I'm ready. Just send it. I will make this work. And literally, the man has sent me stuff where I'm like, are you sure you're local? Like, I don't know what you mean by, like, you're just, in your area. Like, you haven't done any bigger songs with somebody? Because there's some phenomenal projects you've sent me. And I'm like, dude, like, what? I'm just baffled sometimes. I'm like, I have no choice now. I have to do either something brand new specifically for this, or I have to find a song in my catalog that is just like worthy of said, instrumental. And literally from that entire process of like from 2019 to now, I've just been working with producers and videographers to make all this come to life. And it wasn't until January of this last year where literally I was working with this moving company, right? And so for anybody that apparently every time I have to explain this, a gun safe is just not common knowledge to people. Like, I guess they never, seen Wile E. Coyote or things like that. Maybe it's like the older generation, because like some of these younger people are like, what's a gun safe? I'm like, you never seen a big old metal box? Like, I don't know. But literally, it's a big old piece of like steel, titanium, whatever it is, and it is at least like anywhere from 400 up to like 1,200 pounds, given the size and how much stuff could be in it. This in particular, I'm about like 5'10 and a half, 5'11. It's probably about my height and about 3.5 feet wide. So we estimated it to be about 800 to 1,000. And I'm like, dude, it is just me, Tyler, who was like maybe $130 soaking wet, and a dolly. Like, we can't move this. So we called our boss and was like, hey, man, it's not looking good. We're going to have to just write this one off. He's like, no, it's fine. You can take it. Just put it on the dolly. I'll send 2 more people. It'll be all right. And, well, it was not all right. So basically what we had decided, because I was the bigger individual of the group, I was going to pull it up the ramp, and then they were going to push it from the bottom. So basically, if this is said gun safe, I'm over here pulling it on the dolly, like, I'm trying to go up this ramp to the truck, and they're at the bottom pushing it, and it literally took a full tilt from here to pinning me against this ramp. And oh man, if I could illustrate my like life in a movie, man, I swear it was like I was looking up, the sun is there, it was a solar eclipse, and then it was just black. I was like, okay, I had a good run, I enjoyed my life. It was fun while it lasted, but I guess that was my curtain call. But literally, they pushed the gun safe off. I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, I'm still here, but I can't feel my legs. So I start to panic. I'm like, yo, we need to call an ambulance. They end up sending the manager out to get me. It wasn't until like maybe an hour or so later. I had to literally teach myself how to walk and jump rope again, like doing like the basic things I had done previously before. And I'm like, man, like this is some of the hardest things I ever had to go through, because I'm like, I don't know if I could be a performer again. I don't know what my work life is going to be like. I don't know how I'm going to, come back from this, because, I mean, technically I didn't break anything, but honestly, I would have rather have broke something, because the way workers' comp was set up, like, they're like, oh, you can't be hurt that bad. You didn't break anything. But we later found out through a lot of, litigation and lawyers, and basically I have something that was already going on inside, but after the gun safe had landed on me, and being very sedentary, not moving, not being active for an entire year, this disease called early degenerative disc disease, where basically the discs in my body do not have the water that they should, and because of which, at an older, time frame of like 40, 50, I should have been feeling what I'm feeling right now at 23. But because of said impact and, I guess you could say physical or active lifestyle that I had to have, I accelerated that process, and literally for the rest of my life now, I can't do physical labor jobs, which is primarily my resume. So I'm like, now I got to reinvent myself. I got to really double down on this podcast, this music stuff. I was already planning on going back to school, so I'm like, I got to make this work one way or another. So literally just trying to literally go against all the odds is my mission right now.
Mm-hmm. It's literally the craziest story ever. Because, like, when you talked, I think it was the first episode of your podcast that you talked about, and I was like, just the way you handled the situation is crazy, because I feel like it's just such a crazy thing, and a lot of people would probably just be down and out and kind of just super in a depression. Like, you probably couldn't get out of it. You're probably just like, what's the point of even doing anything at this point? But it's good that you took that situation and kind of flipped it to your advantage, and now you're like, well, if I can't do these things I used to be able to do, let me try and help people this way. Like, because I'm good at this. I'm good at creating. I'm good at doing music. I'm good at spreading a message. So I think that's literally the best thing that you have done through this whole thing, is just make, like I said, the podcast. And every one of these songs that, I've been sending you, because I think I checked, it was like probably like 100-some beats I've sent at this point.
Yeah.
And you've probably done at least like 50 or more songs out of them. And every song I get back, I'm just like, every one has a message. Like, there, you got emotional songs, you got some turn-up songs, you just got a lot of different things. And even before I knew that story about what happened to you, I felt like everything you were sending back had like a purpose. And I was like, this is some special music right here. Like, I get a lot of songs back from different artists and stuff, and like, they're really good, but like, just something about these songs you were sending back, I was like, I'm just glad to be a part of it, honestly. So I'm looking forward to when, people get to hear whatever they get to hear. Like, I don't want to give anything away, because it's some special stuff. That's all I'm going to leave it at. But definitely inspiring, man. Like, what you have done through this whole last, 2 years, man. Just everything you're doing. So, love it, man.
Thank you so much, because literally, the depression and being down and out, like, that was real. Like, I literally am sitting in the living room of my girlfriend's couch, like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to get up and make it to the bathroom by myself. And I'm like, I should not be experiencing this going into my Jordan year. Like, this is not what I had envisioned. Mm-hmm. So literally, I'm how do I put this? I'm not very religious, but I am spiritual in a way of, like, when I look at religion, it seems very, by the book, very structured, but at the same time, there are contradictions that I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but for my perspective of what this all powerful being is, if it was meant to be an example through Jesus, I don't think that these said examples of why we shouldn't do this or why we shouldn't do that is enough to justify it, knowing that, Jesus or Muhammad or who all these other people were. It doesn't make sense to me. So personally, having to soul search, having to really dive in and think, if I can't perform, could I still do music? Like, I'm literally picturing myself on a stage, like, my name's Wheelchair War, I'm coming up, like, what's up? Like, just trying to make the most of the situation. I'm like, even if I couldn't perform again, if I could still make music and it helps people, I think I should do it, because I still love to do it. But I had to find that spark and that, I guess you could say, reignition of my drive and purpose again, because I'm like, I can't have just come all this way for nothing. Like, my life isn't over here, so there's got to be something to keep pushing forward to. And literally just through time and I guess you could say, a lot of healing, not only just physically, but like mentally and emotionally. I had to come to that crossroads of like, look, you can either let this, accident, this tragic situation define you, or you can define the situation and make the most of it.
Yeah,
And
it's just,
literally,
yeah.
from everything you sent me to, I've just been like, all right, I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put this here, because literally the sense of confidence, I feel like I've grown from said accident. Because I'm like, literally, I went from I was like 190, 195 before the accident, all the way up to 256, and I'm like, God, I'm looking like a left guard. I could go hit up the San Francisco 49ers right now. And, I could go get me a ring, but literally I'm like, I got weight to lose. I got to get back in shape. I got to do all these things. But I'm like, look, if I can carry this new developed, like, determination, this confidence that, like, this is going to happen, whether it's a mountain of gun safes or not, I'm going to push it. And literally applying it to the music and just growing as an artist from, the more I've experienced and learned about myself, I've just been, like you said, I've been just honored to be a part of this, because having somebody believe in you is just an irreplaceable feeling to know, like, hey, man, I know I reached out to you about making music, and it's really great, but I didn't expect to be a part of something like this, so I want to know that it is an honor. And I'm like, I'm just honored to be here, man. Like,
I'm just excited for everyone to hear it. Like, when people start hearing this stuff, man, it's gonna be monumental. You do come from a football background, though, so that left guard thing might not be too far off the books.
Shoot, I mean, if I did, I could get a couple years out of it, make a couple mil, but at the same time, I'm 5'10". They got some 6'6" D linemen.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
if I could become a kicker, oh yeah, I'd be set.
I was gonna say, like, that almost is like a special team's, like, height and weight, honestly, like, because you could body some people, like, heading straight on, like, during kickoffs and shit, like.
Oh man.
But
I was so worried for a second. I was like, let me not just say anything profane or, out of the ordinary here. I don't know what kind of podcast this is.
Oh, no,
so
it's free reign. It's free reign on this podcast, 100%.
Oh,
everything
thank
goes,
God.
yeah.
I was like, I don't want to have to
everything goes. We won't
make
even,
you go
we won't
through
even
and
cut
censor
this out.
everything.
We won't even cut this out because this is great. But I did want to get to you being in Oklahoma City. Now, I don't know if you have been there your whole life. I'm assuming that you have. But I kind of want to know what your take on specifically the music scene, maybe even the art scene is at Oklahoma City. Like, how do you view it from your perspective, like where things are today?
Man, so a little background on me. If anybody who has family in the military or the oil field, they will understand as far as travel, they are very identical. Wherever they go, you go. So, like, literally from an early age, I remember just packing up and moving, packing up and moving, packing up and moving. I'm like, man, I hate moving. To then eventually go to a moving company. I'm like, this is why I hate moving. I hate moving all this shit. But at least I'm getting paid for it now. So literally from, like, we went from Oklahoma, well, technically I was born in Norman, went to Broken Arrow, went to Virginia, had family in, like, the Pennsylvania area for a little bit, came back to Broken Arrow, we went to Tulsa, this little place called Glenpool, then we moved to Guthrie, where I graduated from, was in Edmond for a bit, and now we're in Oklahoma City, and I'm like, man, I am just ready to find a place to settle down, or at least, like, be on a special tour thing to where I don't have to own a bunch of stuff. I'm just traveling, making money. I don't got to worry about bringing an entire house or apartment's worth of stuff with me. Like, I'm just ready to be done with all that, or at least pay other people to do it for me, because I'm sick of moving. Like, it's the worst thing for me is just a house with stairs. I used to want a house with stairs so much, and now I'm like, I can't even
imagine it now.
Oh no, I'm thinking, I'm like, man, I've seen, like, what is it, townhouses where you got to go all the way upstairs and that's where you start. I'm like, moving refrigerators, bed sets, all that up there again. Never. But back to, like, the Oklahoma music scene, like, literally over, like, the last 6-7 years, because if I started really in junior high, I want to say, like, the local scene at the time wasn't really developed from what I understood. And then once I got in high school, there were some rap competitions going on with the local radio station 103.5 and a couple other things going on. So I was like, I mean, what do I got to lose? I can find out where I am, I guess, in this, pond of fish, where am I at? And going in there and winning the competition against people one of which is a producer, but he's now a platinum level producer. I'm like, okay. So, it's just pretty formidable people. And literally, I am just like astonished. Like, I was able to do that then, but at the time, like, the scene was growing. There was more artists, like, trying to get their name out. They're traveling. They're doing this. But really what I'd like to see from the local scene is just, like, more unity. Because at least from my observations, right, you get the West Coast and the East Coast. So it's all these, like, groups in a sense, like, they have their cliques here, they have their cliques there, but it's never so much of, like, a, I'm better than you, so blah, 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 or, well, I don't like the way that you rap, so I'm not going to support this. Like, they all come together collectively, even if it's, like, Chicago to Dallas to Houston to Atlanta. Like, it's just really rich in culture, and they just appreciate the music, where I feel like it's like the crab in the barrels theory here, where it's like everybody is just so desperate to make it out that they're pulling each other out. I'm like, hey man, like I really don't care who makes it out first or who makes it big. It's just like, if everybody is trying to make it happen and they're willing to put in the time, the work, and the extra effort to do so, by all means, I think they should give a chance, or be given a chance, So if I was fortunate enough to be able to do that, I would love to create a pipeline for Oklahoma artists, because there's just so many talented people here that just go unnoticed, because people are like, Oklahoma? Isn't that where, like, what's his name? Garth Brooks and all these other people from? Carrie Underwood? Like, I don't want to listen to a rapper from Oklahoma. Like, most people think that I technically am, I guess, from the East Coast. Well, you sound like you're from the East Coast, or you sound like you're from da-da-da. I'm like, well, just took a little bit here, took a little bit there, took it to the middle, mix it up in the pot, serve you up right here.
I think that's great, though, like kind of a long-term goal, if you could make that happen, kind of just to give back to the next generation, too, coming out of that area as well, because I totally agree with what you said. I think it's like everyone kind of gets clouded, like their vision, as far as you think you're competing with everyone else, but it's like you guys all have the same goals in different ways, but you should all be trying to lift each other up, you know what I mean? Like, you're not trying to just compete, like thinking that there's only one of you that's ever going to make it out. It's like, no, like, everyone can make it out, especially in music, because it's like there's no one way to do that, you know what I mean? Especially to be an artist. It's like there's so many different avenues you could go and people you're going to meet, and the journey is pretty unpredictable for everyone. It's kind of just how far are you willing to go to make it happen? So I think that's something that a lot of people forget. And like you said, since it's not like a huge like scene that everyone's looking at, it's like I feel like people, I could definitely see what you're saying about, like, there might be desperation creeping in, especially for people that have been at it for a while, and they're like, how am I ever going to make it out of here? I might need to move to Atlanta where things are more, popping, you know what I mean? Or there's more stuff going on there. There's more stuff going on in New York or LA or whatever, but it's like you can really make it from anywhere. It's just about how are you approaching it for yourself? What do you want out of a career? You just got to get more specific, you know what I mean? So
absolutely. I think if people just really, not only they understand like the unity and the understanding of like, somebody gets recognized here, like they're not just going to never look back. Like there's going to be more opportunity in really understanding that there's more to being a music artist than just making the music. It's there's a beautiful book that I've gone through a couple times now called 4D Songwriting, and literally it's like no different than a restaurant. If you go into a restaurant, there's decor, there's furniture, there's menu styles, there's all these different things going into it, and it's no different than being a music artist. If all you're offering is music, you're going into a blank building with no furniture, no decor, no nothing, and there's just a bowl of soup just chilling right there. There's nothing else to offer. And I'm like, so if you don't mold yourself as like an individual, you don't let people know who you are, what you got going on, what you got plans for, like if you don't build a relationship, how do you expect to build not only long-term relationships, but monetary relationships? How do you expect to get to a bigger platform if all they know is that you make good music?
Yeah, they got to see a face behind it, too. Or else the soup has to be pretty damn special. Like, honestly, like I know MF Doom was, a phenomenal guy that wore a mask, but even then for the time,
but he was still in an area where they have this unity going on, and he was still a part of the culture and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think if people want to move out to another state or even sometimes like other countries to go out and, do the damn thing. I thought about going to the UK and trying to get a start out there because UK apparently loves American rap. So I'm like, let me go out there. They love live music. They're all about showing up and, getting active. So honestly, wherever you can make it, do so. But me personally, but when I get my start, I will make sure that when I'm in the position to do so, I will bring it back to Oklahoma to eliminate that whole process of I have to be better than everybody if I want to get recognized, because it's no different, at least the way I see it, is like somebody's just waiting on this bus to show up and they're fighting for the first ticket to be on. I'm like, there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
There's just no point, because really you're not doing anything to help, I guess, facilitate an environment that wants to bring people to Oklahoma and have events or have shows, because there's nobody that wants to deal with that kind of drama.
Yeah. Definitely, you got to choose unity over the competition, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to be competitive to that extent. Like, you can be competitive in a fun way, but you want to continue to push the good narrative and everything. I like what you said about, like, touring, though. You're like, I don't want to be traveling unless I'm touring. Like, that's a good reason to be jumping cities, you know what I mean? You're doing shows and stuff. Like, yeah, that'd be where you want to graduate to, I think.
That's just the way I see it. I mean, after Seattle, I like literally showing myself. I was like, wow, I can do this. Like, it even got to a point, like, you know how parents are, like, they want to support you, but at the same time, like, they want security. Like, you need to go to college, you need to get a job, all these things. I'm like, I understand, but it wasn't until I got to tour in Seattle that she was like, oh shit, like, you can really do this. I was like, I know, it's really enough. I'm getting on the plane right now. Like, it was a remarkable experience, and I'm like, this is just like the tip of the iceberg. And whatever I got to do to keep that going, like, say less. I don't care about putting in 10,000 hours or whatever it is that would require somebody to get to that type of level. I know some people are like, you got to know people in the industry, or you got to be perfect at what you do. I'm like, honestly, no different than what Nipsey Hussle said. It's a marathon. As long as you have consistency and good quality, you will outlast those other people that say that they want it, don't really want it in 5 to 10 years if they don't get the results they want. And then you're still there consistently grinding, getting your traction, a little more people here, a little more exposure here. And then somebody's like, hey, we should go sign that cat. Hey, we should go book him for this tour, whatever it looks like.
Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of it, too. You never know where it's going to go, but you just got to keep going and see, That's part of the whole thing, is the unpredictability of the entire process. I did want to get back to your podcast. Now, your podcast is called Growth is Hard, right? So,
yes, sir.
Kind of curious about the name and everything, and just really the concept behind it. It obviously goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the last 2 years of your life and how you've grown as a person and done a lot of cool things, and through obviously that experience made a lot of music. So go ahead and touch on that. Just kind of briefly describe what the show is about and how that's been going.
Literally, so 2019 really shaped myself as an individual, because anybody that knew me before 2019 could easily say, oh, he's very goofy, he's lackadaisical, he's just kind of go with the flow. I didn't really have like I guess you could say urgency in most things in life. It's just like, hey, it's gonna happen. 2019 happens, and literally my world was flipped over based on everything that happens. You get this gun safe moved into the mix, and literally between losing family members, losing friends, losing my own physical ability to, take care of myself, let alone like walk, I had to not only reevaluate the people around me, I had to reevaluate myself, where I place my worth, where I place my time and energy. And I noticed a lot of people just do the same patterns that have always been done by their family members or friends, and they don't either believe that they can do more than that, or that they should, that that what they do is acceptable. And I had to be able to say, that's fine, but it's not going to work for me, and move past that. So I wanted to create a podcast, since COVID's going on. I can't actually go out and have like a little physical place and easily have people there to have like live shows, but I can create a podcast, have a message that cultivates growth, not only physically but mentally and emotionally, that shows people, these generational curses that plague you, whether it's self-esteem, whether it's abuse, whether it's, love and relationships, whether that's, out of family or not, like it can be changed as long as you put your mindset to changing yourself first, because that's where all the change really starts.
I always say on this podcast, as much as I get a chance to do it, I say that as creatives, especially musicians, it's good to have that mindset before you even go in, because the negativity and the different things that people try to throw on you, that can affect your creativity. Because the energy that you're around, if you're around the bad energy, even if you're not a bad energy person yourself, it's going to rub off a little bit. Like you're going to find yourself in kind of a pissed off mood, or kind of just like not with it if you're around people that are, just giving off the bad vibes. So I think it's important to touch on those things, because you really got to be aware of that stuff a lot, especially when you're trying to positively impact other people through music. Like if you're trying to put a message in your song that's going to help somebody, you got to make sure you're helping yourself first. You know what I mean? You got to make sure that you're okay and that you're good as much as possible. Obviously, every day is not going to be good. You know what I mean? We're all going to have down days. We're all going to have days where it doesn't feel like, we're even going to, like, why are we even doing this? You know what I mean? Especially in music, you're like, you hit the days where it just gets repetitive and you're like, does anyone even care what I'm doing? Is it going to matter? Then the next day, you're out of it. You're like, let's fucking go. Like, we're ready. We got all this energy going and everything. So it's ups and downs and everything. But I think that you just got to make sure that creatively you can be in a good mindset to do your job as far as affecting people in a good way. And I think your podcast is doing that. And I love that you touch on things that don't just have to do with music. They just have to do with life. You know what I mean? Like anyone can relate to those topics. And I know you had like your girlfriend on there, and you had another one of your collaborators on there already, and they got to share their story. So I think the possibilities are endless for where you can take it. So congrats on it, man.
Man, thank you so much, because literally, so much of what you're saying about, the things that people say to you, it's almost like a double-edged sword of, like, at least from what I understand of people, everybody that wants to be, say an entrepreneur, for example, they're like, oh, you got to read the laws of attraction and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so if you understand the laws of attraction goes for, the type of things that are spoken from you, you might want to also acknowledge that those thoughts that you have are just as powerful, and almost, I would say, twice, if not three times as more often happen than what's actually said, as as dangerous or as beneficial as the voices or words that are spoken around you. Because it's never to say, there isn't going to be bad times, or it's never to say you can't say anything that's negative, like, oh, this shit sucks. Like, did having a gun say fell on me, was it a good thing? I mean, it's all about perspective. I think at the time it fucking sucked, but for where I'm at now, I mean, I could see it as a blessing. I could see it as an opportunity to look at myself more than just somebody that has to be physically capable of doing things to be appreciated, to have worth, to have any, I guess you could say, place in a household or in anybody's life. I had to find the silver lining in that and literally reshape the relationship I had with my mind, myself, and those around me, because I understand, people are supposed to have their differences. We're not all supposed to be the same. And if America is really this melting pot, I don't care to be the exact same opinion as the next person, as long as we agree on what matters. And what really matters to me involving that topic is, like, constructive criticism. I love it to death, because really, if people implemented that to their actual relationships, instead of being what they call is real or just being honest, like, constructive criticism is in a beneficial or a loving way that is supposed to help somebody grow or get the results that they're looking from, versus what a lot of people, take from being real or honest is more negative or hurtful. Like, I'm just being blunt, I'm just being me. And it's like, okay, but when you said that, were you doing that to help them? Was it coming from a place of love? Because, I can understand, some things need to be said, but it's not about what is said all the time, but it's the way you say it.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I totally agree on the whole thing about perspective, because it really is just how you're able to flip things to your advantage. You know what I mean? It's like, and that just starts with personal growth. It takes time. Like you said, with your journey, it's like you had to have that time kind of reflect on everything in your whole life, like going back to when you were a kid and what you used to do and how you were going to move forward. So it's really something about just sitting down with yourself, having the conversation, and it's not like that journey ever ends. Like, everybody's a work in progress. It's always going to be, you know, things we have to overcome and everything, but definitely things to keep in mind, because I feel like when you try and, like, shove those emotions down and bury them, it's never going to end well. You know what I mean? You gotta embrace it. So definitely
gotta embrace it.
Yeah, and I love what you're doing for it, man. So continue that work. Great stuff, man. 100%. So I know you just dropped the Only Child record, which is the first one in a while. I think it's the first one in like 2 years.
Yes,
so
sir.
If you want to talk about that, and then what is the next move after that? Because I figure you have some of the other stuff planned, but I'm not sure 100%. So go ahead and touch on that.
Man, I am so excited. So, like, literally, big shout out to Diamond Harper. I did a track with him literally back in high school. I talked about it on the podcast. It's a song called Way Too High. And it was literally a similar time where I was telling you, like, you know, getting involved in these rap competitions. I invited him and his brother over to record. And, like, literally, I have never, until that point in my life, been around people that made me reevaluate if I was worth rapping. Like, I was like, dog, these people don't just rap. They really rap. Like, the delivery, the bars. I was like, oh my God. Like, I thought I had to go back and rewrite my stuff. Like, just make sure it was up to par, because I'm like, they came prepared. I'm like, I need to take notes. So, like, literally, when I got the chance to work with him on a different basis now, where he's the producer and I'm the artist, I'm like, I gotta not only keep up with that same energy he brought then, but I gotta keep the wave that I had created for myself years ago and really stamp hard that, you know, I may have been gone for 2 years, but don't think that I was just sitting on my ass watching Netflix doing nothing, decided, well, I guess I could put out a song. There's a couple stores opening up again. Like, you know, I guess I could do this. I'm like, no, I've been working. And I need people to understand, even if it's just like literally a 2-minute song, I need to show that there was growth from the first two of Maui and Simplicity's Key to what is now Only Child. And literally just taking a different approach as far as prepping for the song, already, you know, having it ready for downloading and streaming, having it submitted to blogs. We just got picked up by like 3 different blogs now, and it's going to be in a February issue of a double-page magazine. So I was like, woo, woo, woo. Like, I'm just so excited and grateful that that was able to happen. And literally, like, the next move, I want to have at least another song out by the next 2 to 3 months, because I want to say if I can have it ready by March, I'll make the announcement of like what song it's going to be, maybe a teaser, I don't know, but like I want to have at least 4 to 5 songs out by the end of this year, because there's no reason by the time I get done with workers' comp and I'm able to get to other destinations, other studios, etc., a lot easier, that I should not be putting out more music consistently.
Mm-hmm. And believe me when I tell you that this man has enough tracks to make it stretch for at least a few years. Like, literally, you could make this stretch for a while, this run. So, like, this is just the beginning. But, like, I remember you had him on the podcast on one of your episodes. I could tell, like, you guys were joking the whole time, and, like, the chemistry was great. I'm like, you could tell these guys, like, they've known each other for a long time. Like, because it was just an undeniable, like, just relationship there, like, through the episode. Like, you guys were just had your inside jokes and stuff and everything, and talking about, like, when you went to each other's house and recorded and stuff. And I was like, this is incredible. So it was cool to see that was kind of the song that, like, is going to kick off the run, you know what I mean, that you're about to go on and everything. It's like your comeback record, too. So I think and obviously the song is freaking crazy. Go check it out. I didn't get to do my reaction video because COVID had me in a chokehold, but I was like, I would have been in that episode, maybe, because you posted the reactions. I was like, this close to being on there, but congrats on the song, man. And like I said, I think it's just the beginning of this run you're going to go on, which is going to be crazy. So
I'm excited, man. Just trying to take notes from many greats like, you know, Russ, Nipsey, and so many in between, because there's so much, not just money to be made, but exposure and creativity as far as like potential goes to make something happen that hasn't been done yet. And literally, I want to not only bring that to the Oklahoma scene, but I want to expand on that in a bigger platform, which is something that I will, I guess, later divulge in with more details, but I plan on creating a new genre of music in the next 10 years called medical music and really do something different. So by having these, relationships now that have just flourished, the chemistry is there, I want to be able to prolong that longevity and really take it the extra mile, so when all this happens, like, everybody can, benefit from the tree we all worked on together.
That kind of leads me into the last few questions here. These are a few questions I ask on every episode to every guest. So the first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
10 years. If I went back 10 years, I would be 13 years old. 10 years ago, what piece of advice would I give myself? Holy shit. What piece of advice I would give myself? Is it just singular? Because I could give advice for days to my younger self.
It could be anything. The possibilities are endless for this one. So
I'll be like, look, first off, not everybody is your friend. Just because you share details with them, you share news or, celebratory information with them, does not mean that they're your friend. No different than I'm sure you've seen on TikTok, like, you got 13 likes on your photo, but 300 people viewed your story of the same thing. So, like, just because you've only got this many people engaging with you does not exactly mean that they're your friend or they want the best for you. Second, I tell myself to accept that being emotional is not a bad thing, but don't let emotions dictate your actions or your next move, because that is where a lot of people go wrong, and I feel like make the setbacks that end up happening to them, because it's impossible to be a regular human being that isn't like Jeffrey Dahmer or anybody like that to not have emotions when something goes wrong or something happens to them. Like, there's going to be sadness, there's going to be anger, there's going to be, good and bad. But if you completely and solely dictate your next move off of, well, this person did this to me and I'm upset, so now I got to do this, like, you're not thinking clearly, and you're not thinking anything that's going to be progressively good for either of you. You don't have to do something that's going to benefit them, but honestly, the best kind of revenge, in my opinion, is success, because no different than being like, oh, these people were so mean to me, I'm going to go egg their house. It's like, those are the same people that are going to be like, oh my God, do you remember back in high school we used to pick on you, oh man, that was so cool, can I get tickets to your show? Like, can I get those VIP tickets to your show, man? I love your music. It's just having a different approach of like, look, is it really going to help you get where you're going? Like, how long do you want to hold on to this? What else would I say to myself? Basically, I would plot and plan everything that I said I was going to do. Like, if I really wanted to do this, like, give like a glimpse of like, hey man, you can really do this shit. You were touring and da-da-da-da. So if you hunker down right now, you might get further. And basically, like, all the hours and time that I put into music, double down on that, because there was many nights where I was just bullshitting playing Xbox because I'm like, I got all the time in the world. I'm only a sophomore. I'm only a freshman. You don't got time like you think you do. And if you're not out there putting your foot to the pavement every single day and leaving it all on the table, like, there will be days where you're going to ask yourself, did I do enough? Did I do everything in my power to absolutely make this happen, or did I fall short because I didn't try hard enough? Just completely eliminate that. So I guess if that's three things I would tell myself, that would be it. And stay away from girls, god damn it, they're not helping you.
So you touched on the next one a little bit ago, but 10 years from now then, where do you think you envision yourself in your life and your career?
10 years from now? Oh man, I remember touching on this in a previous interview I did with a blog, and I don't want this to sound conceited by any means, but this is just how much I believe in what I'm going to do. But literally, I picture myself being like up there in the conversation with the Lamars and the Drakes and the Coles and all that in between, because literally I'm bringing something that everybody can touch and relate to, and the game plan that I have for it is not just the fact of like he makes good music. I want to be active in the communities. I want to be involved. I want to help change a lot of negative cycles that just continuously happen because people don't feel like they can do anything about it. And more importantly to me, I want to go to places that people feel like they aren't being heard just because there's not a lot of people there. Like, obviously, people are like, oh, my God, he's going to come to L.A., he's going to come to San Francisco, he's going to come to all these places. I'm so excited. I want to go to, like, I view, like, where I'm from, Guthrie, as a little place. Because the only reason I know of it is because, historically, it was the first capital of Oklahoma. So, like, nobody outside of Oklahoma is probably going to know what Guthrie is. So if I can find more places like that have listeners, that have fans, I want to just pop up and be like, hey, I'm going to be here for the next 3 hours. Come, get some free merch. Come have like a mini show. Like, just really get involved and see what I can do to help. Because even though those big cities are really cool and there's so many more people to meet, it's the little people in between that really keep that traction or keep that love going. Because always, whether it's a scandal, whether it's an accident, those are typically the first people to fall off. It's just those bigger cities, because then, I don't know if you remember, what was it, like the Little Pump, Smoke Perp Wave, when there was like, fuck J. Cole, like everybody was hating on J. Cole or hating on Russ. People will just ride the bandwagon, will ride the wave, but if you really make that connection and have real real fans, none of that will matter. And honestly, I welcome the hate. Look at Floyd Mayweather, notorious person, like a just flamboyantly aggressive and arrogant, attitude. And I'm not advertising that, but what he did with it has set him up for the rest of his life. So if you can literally put yourself in a position to create longevity that's generationally beneficial monetary wise, and it's not directly, impacting somebody negatively, by all means do so. If you want to be the bad guy, be the bad guy. But I'm just trying to create a change on a bigger platform that will not only get my message across, but like I mentioned earlier with the medical music, I plan to literally create a genre of music that's going to be used in different hospitals and clinics around the world that's going to help people with different cognitive and mental disorders. So literally, I plan to not only live my truth in my personal music, but leave my stamp in history just forever.
Love it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with all of it, man, because I don't doubt you for a second. I really believe you could do all this stuff, because I've seen it literally firsthand just from working with you. So looking forward to all of it, 100%. Do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Final words of wisdom? I guess going back to something you said earlier, I wanted to touch on. A lot of people, when it comes to their time and their energy and the people they surround themselves with, there's a difference between giving, and then there's a difference between, what's the word? Like donating. I'll make donating the example, right? So I'll give that a little business game. So a lot of times when people like do something for you, they're looking at it as a donation in business terms, because a lot of people, a lot of businesses will donate X amount of dollars. And if you know how your LLC or your nonprofit is structured, you can write off a good amount of that and get free money from the government. So let's say you donate $500,000, you can get a third, if not half of that back, just because you donated under certain, litigation codes and etc. Now, if you're giving something, that is giving with the intent of just pure, like, here, take this, I don't want anything back, this is just meant for you because, you need it, I felt that I needed to give it to you, I appreciate you, whatever it may be. And understand that if you are, like myself, an empath, that it's just naturally your friend circle's therapist and whatnot, you need to give to yourself before you give to other people. Because if I have a cup of water right here and I'm constantly pouring into this other cup, and I'm not getting anything back, how can I keep pouring into other people if I can't even pour anything into myself? And then they're over here like, but I need more. You can't even help yourself. It's no different than the flight emergencies. Put your own mask on. If a medic gets hurt, the medic has to help themselves, because it's not like anybody else is going to come help them to then help everybody else. So literally, take care of yourself, take care of your mentality, your mental fortitude, emotionally, spiritually, all that, because the people that are not right for you, when you set those boundaries, when you have to say no, get comfortable saying no, because it may not feel good in the moment, but those people that are either toxic or abusive, they're going to show their hand. They're going to be confrontational about it. They're going to be upset about it, and that is okay. Be okay with that, because if they were meant for you, they would be all for you.
Well, War Mothershed, everybody. Man, this episode was crazy. I appreciate you for even wanting to be on the show today. You're the exact type of guest that this podcast was made for, 100%. I'm glad we even delved into some things that had nothing to do with music, just had to do with life, you know what I mean? And like I said, I'm just honored to work with you, man, be working on all these songs. I'm ready for people to hear what you got going, and everything, like I said, that you are going to set out to do, you're going to do it. Like, I am nothing short of positive on everything, and I really just appreciate you even supporting my music and what I do, and the feeling is definitely mutual, man.
And like I said, it is an honor to be here. It is an honor to work with you on a music and personal basis, because you yourself are an amazing creator, and I can't wait for the world to hear what we're, collaboratively coming together on. And if there's anything else that I can be a part of, whether it's another episode or an event or anything else got going on, say the word. I will be there as a supportive, as a collaborative, whatever you need, man, because you deserve that shit.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. That was episode 95. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And we continue the countdown to the 100th episode. Like I said, working to get a really special guest on, and I'm working out the details on what the giveaway is going to be. We did have a giveaway last year for the 50th episode, so we'll have another one of those going. But until next week, we will see you then. Thanks, everyone.